Alright, as someone who is fluent in memes, this is the best way I can describe Astrobot.
Now, this is epic.
Alright, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm just kidding, that is not the entire video. What I am not kidding about, nor would I ever dare kid about, is just how good Astrobot is. When the 9th gen consoles were coming out, I was Team Xbox, and I had an Xbox One and wanted a Series X. But literally all my friends wanted PS5s. So I was outvoted and ended up in the pursuit for a PS5. We all know how that launch went. It wasn't all bad though, as I was genuinely excited to play Astro's Playroom, the half game, half tech demo that comes preloaded in every PlayStation 5. I was excited to play this because A, it just looked like a good 3D platformer, but also B, it was a celebration of all things PlayStation. As you played through the Playroom, you also went through the history of PlayStation, and after 100%ing that game, I was left hungry for more. So when I caught wind of a full-fledged Astrobot game coming out, I was ecstatic. Although my favorite part about Astro's Playroom was going through the history of PlayStation, I knew Astrobot wouldn't go as hard in that aspect, but I was also confident it was going to make up for it in other ways, and it is safe to say I was proven correct and then some. So let's hop on our DualSense speeders and fly into the semi-nitty-gritty of Astrobot. Alright, a couple things to clear up. First off, I apologize if I sound a little nasally. I am quite sick at the moment, but I really want to make this video. I really wanted to share this with you guys, and the content sleeps for no one. So I'm doing this quite sick. But also, before I go any further, let me say this. I am purposely going to be as vague as I can be, both in the words I say and the footage I show, while also still conveying my point. Astrobot is a game that thrives off discovery, both in the big and small, and the last thing I want is to take that experience away from you. So I will likely show mostly early game footage with not a lot of detail, as even the individual worlds you explore are a joy to discover for yourself. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Astrobot was developed by Team Asobi and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It was released on September 6th, 2024, and is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. So obviously all footage you are seeing is from PS5 and recorded using the onboard capturing on the PS5. In Astrobot, you play as Astrobot, and you travel the solar system in search of rescuing your fellow bots, as well as getting back the parts you needed to fix your PS5 spaceship. Space Bully Nebulax scattered all this across the stars, while also holding the PS5 CPU hostage. But to be honest, none of that really matters, since the story honestly takes a backseat to the gameplay and the cameos. What matters is that this game is fucking awesome. There are no other words for it. I got a long list of things I really like about this game, so I'm just going to start working my way through that list. First and foremost, the pacing of this game. So more or less what happens is that once you start playing, the gas pedal gets shoved to the floor and then it never gets lifted for the rest of the game. I'm being serious. There's literally no downtime in this game. You jump from one exciting world to the other in lightning speeds thanks to someone finally making use of the PlayStation's SSD. I feel the PS5 Pro is pretty pointless because I feel we are largely barely scratching the surface of what the normal PS5 can do. And this is one of the few games where I feel it was purposely developed for the PS5, takes advantage of the hardware the system has. Even more to the point of hardware utilization is the amount of individual objects that can be on screen at one point. At times, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of individual physics objects where I would run through or spin through these piles of objects just in disbelief that this machine could do this. What is even more remarkable is not only that the PlayStation can handle this, but also keep such a stable frame rate through it all. When I say this game is rock solid, I mean it. Genuinely one of the most stable games I have played in a long time. This is what the 9th gen consoles and the PS5 are for. Let's see more of this, please. What also helps to keep you going at full throttle is the music in this game. Seriously, bop after bop after bop. I will say personally, I think the best music comes from earlier in the game, with my favorite track being 12 Bar Bot, or for those who are wondering which one that is, it's the song that plays during the first construction level. Every song in this game just goes hard as a motherfucker, and every song fits the mood perfectly and keeps you motivated to keep on trekking through and to save more bots. I was editing a video just yesterday at the time of writing, and I initially intended to put some lo-fi music over it, but instead I chose some more rock and roll and faster paced music, and doing that one simple change completely altered the whole mood of that video. So Astrobot has the perfect music for every setting of the game to keep you in the right mood to keep playing. And you're going to want to keep playing because there are levels in this game that are seriously amazing. There were a few in particular where I was just in awe of what I was seeing. Most levels come with power-ups to use as well. Some power-ups are recurring and some are one and done. There is one in particular that was one and done that I really wish was one of the recurring ones. It was so cool and genuinely changed the way you thought the level worked, felt, and looked. But in general, part of what makes these worlds so beautiful is the color palette on display. I am a sucker for bright and vibrant color palettes, and Astrobot has that in spades. So many bright and vibrant, beautiful colors in the worlds that I am in. And what's even cooler is that there are a handful of worlds that are inspired by PlayStation IPs and get transformed into Astrobot-esque renditions of them. And this is kind of the highlight of the game as a whole for me, especially when it was an IP I was very intimately familiar with. These did a good job of mixing up the gameplay just a bit, and you start doing stuff and using mechanics that can only be used in those worlds. But even in the quote-unquote normal worlds, the obvious draw of this game are the cameos in the forms of other bots. These are probably why a lot of people will be playing this game. A lot of other bots are designed to reflect a lot of people, not only in strictly PlayStation history, but then there are also plenty of third-party mascots on display as well. So many cameos, and I was just like, wow, that's so cool. I can't believe they even thought to include this person. Just super cool stuff all around. Which I did see every bot in this world, as much like Playroom, I platinumed and 100% of this game, which is a lot easier than I was expecting for one reason. I played through this game not really trying too hard to get everything. When I played through a world for the first time, I definitely tried to get as much of the collectibles as I could, but I wouldn't break my back over it, knowing I would just come back later after finishing the story of the game. The initial plan was that I would just Google my way through levels to collect things I missed the first time around. However, to my surprise, I didn't need to. Once you re-enter a level you already played through, you'll see a little birdhouse in a glass case. This is the key to 100%ing this game easily. For 200 coins, which is not a lot, you can pull this guy out of his house and he will follow you around the level, all while acting as a radar for collectibles. When you are near something you missed, the bird's antenna will start beeping and flashing in the direction of the item. This made 100%ing this game an absolute breeze and made it much more enjoyable to do than I was expecting. Also, quick side note, the Platinum Trophy description says that we will see Astro in his next adventure. Makes me wonder when a sequel will come out or if they continue with the history of PlayStation thing. You just never know. I'd love to see a sequel to this game, obviously. And the whole time I was 100%ing the game and playing it, I was experiencing the icing on the cake that this game has, which is the DualSense. Listen, I'm firmly in the camp of the Xbox controller being better than the DualSense, so I largely view the DualSense as being a filled with gimmicks controller that are cool for about 5 minutes, then more annoying than anything. The trackpad is dumb and underutilized, the motion controls are largely pointless, and the adaptive triggers were cool for like 5 minutes when I first got my PlayStation, but now I turn them off almost immediately anytime I get a new game because I know they will be more annoying than immersive. The only thing I feel that is cool about the DualSense is the haptic feedback. That is truly the one aspect of the DualSense I enjoy over the Xbox controller, which, much like the Playroom, is one of the few games I have played on my PlayStation to really take advantage of this controller in the best ways, especially the haptics. It was like every little thing prompted a different response out of the DualSense haptics, and it was truly cool. There was even one part where I really enjoyed the motion sensing ability of the DualSense, and there was a level where the only way to move through that level was to tip the controller around. But I will say that this is the only time I enjoyed the motion sensing. There are more than a few spots where you use the motion sensing the controller has, and I felt it was largely sketchy and hard to control, which is largely my only issue with this game. I know you can turn it off, but I guess I was just too lazy to do it. Typically the motion sensing is to control a turret of some kind you are on, and I found it quite difficult to be accurate using the motion controls of these things. And other than that one level I mentioned earlier, my thoughts on the gimmicks of the DualSense remained intact from my playthrough of Astrobot. Also, just want to point out that the next thing isn't a positive or a negative, but I just think it's funny how the PS5 chip in this game is a quote-unquote Gen 1 PS5, which Sony doesn't even make anymore or sell anymore. Now, I'm not an idiot. I understand this game is probably in development for a long time, and the chip asset was probably made before the Gen 2 PS5 came out and replaced the Gen 1. Just thought it was funny and kind of ironic that this game that celebrates Sony doesn't even include a console they currently make. But all in all, this game absolutely rules. It is honestly incredible what Team Asobi has done here. But what I like about Astrobot more than anything is the sheer breadth of people this game appeals to. On the surface, yes, of course this looks like a kid's game. Team Asobi was very aware of this and played into it a bit. As on the Friends Per Second podcast, which I highly recommend, one of my favorite podcasts out there, the Team Asobi studio director, Nicholas Doucette, said that the team was aware this might be someone's first 3D platformer and wanted to make sure that they enjoy it, which they most definitely will, no matter the age. However, I feel this game is truly made for adults, or at least those who are well versed in video game history. Very minor spoiler warning here, but someone who is new to the gaming world won't be able to appreciate the references to Ape Escape, Jak and Daxter, Medieval, and so many more. However, adults or people who grew up on gaming, or those who care about the video game industry, will be able to fully appreciate these. Hell, I eat, sleep, and breathe video games, and I didn't even understand all the references, so the cuts here go beyond deep. But with that being said, this might not only be someone's first 3D platformer, but maybe even their first video game. So I commend Team Asobi for potentially introducing so many new gamers to so many icons and titans in the gaming world, maybe starting them down the path of one of their new favorite series. What Team Asobi has accomplished here is nothing short of incredible, and they deserve all the credit in the world for this feat. If you are someone who truly does not enjoy 3D platformers and do not find them fun, then so be it. As I always say, the most important thing in gaming is having fun. But for everyone else, if you have a PS5, I would call Astrobot a must-buy. Astrobot is truly one of those really special games that does not come along often, and if you have the means, I could not recommend it more. But the only thing that is cooler than Astrobot is you, viewer. Thank you for your time and attention spent watching this video. I appreciate it quite a bit. If you like this video, please tell YouTube that and hit that thumbs up button. It goes a long way for us here at Milkman Media. Next, I'm going to be tackling the recently released Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, a mouthful of a title. I know absolutely nothing about the Warhammer 40k universe, and this will be my first foray into the universe, but I've heard so many good things about this game, and it looks badass, so I want to try it. I'll be checking out all parts of the game, that being the single player, the co-op missions, and the PvP, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that. Lastly, let's talk in the comments about Astrobot, Astro's Playroom, or even anything PlayStation. I really hope Astro is a mascot for PlayStation that is here to stay, and I'd love to know how you guys feel about this, so please let me know in the comments below. So thanks again, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.